Welcome, everyone. Is anybody here that's here for the first time? Oh, excellent. Okay. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
This is a good place. Everybody's welcome here. And I like to do things just a bit differently. And we're going to record this too, because we put all this on YouTube and such. So I'm going to say welcome to Coachella Valley Church at 2142 the Alameda. It's a good place. So new people, I try to do things a bit differently. I'm not going to beat anybody up with the Bible. We've all had enough of that. Oh, thank you, I know that. Again, no, please. We want to draw upon your knowledge. And so if at some time you have a question, or there's something like you to share, like, whoa, got it. It's okay, raise your hand and acknowledge it. And then speak clearly and loudly for everyone to hear. Any one of you could be up here, by the way, I know that. I'm just one of 7 billion people on the planet. And I'm an old guy wearing a suit, so I get to be up here. Thank you. And again, thanks for your chili. Again, that's just delicious. Today's topic, today it's about new beginnings. New beginnings, who doesn't need that? New beginnings, as opposed to New Year's resolutions. New Year's resolution. You know, that's not a new thing. There's evidence that making resolutions at the beginning of a season or a year has gone back over 3,000 years. The Babylonians were doing that. And I wonder what their resolutions were. They probably said, I want to give up smoking. I want to lose weight. Which, believe it or not, are the most popular New Year's resolutions that we have. And invariably, by February the 1st, they're all gone, and you can't even remember what they were anyway. So the power of resolutions is kind of interesting. Let's take the word itself, to resolve. If you look up in the dictionary, I was looking at it last night, that there's a lot of definitions in there. I remember one that said in photography, which caught my eye, because I'm also a photographer, it's the minimum amount that you can measure between 2 lines on a test, how much your lens will resolve. That's cool. And it's also about breaking things up. It's about loosening things up to get yourself going again. It's about tearing things down and making a new statement of commitment. I thought, that's getting more clear now. Anybody remember any of your resolutions from last year? Let's see if they came up for you. Do you remember what they were? Anybody can share something that you say, I'm going to do this? Anybody?
Yeah, I said I was going to move, and I did.
Yes. Anybody else here from Kansas City? Missouri. Oh, I'm from Missouri as well. Really good.
Kansas. I came here from Kansas.
All the way from Kansas to be here. So resolutions. I want to stop smoking. My dad said that every year. Awesome. My sister's gonna lose weight. Yeah. But new beginnings are different. So before we want to get into that, though, let's enter into a different place in our minds, in our being. Let's slow down into our purpose here today, which is a spiritual aspect to raise ourselves up against the normal part of life, the mundane. Let's all say together the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. The kingdom, the power, and the glory. Forever. Forever, that's a long time. And I think most of us have an idea that our world is bigger than just the 5 senses. You know, we can think, we can love, we can call upon external forces that are so greater that it surpasses all understanding. It certainly surpasses mine. One definition of the universe, it's a place where anything could happen. It's so big. In fact, we can't even imagine how big it is because it's constantly expanding. And therefore, maybe all of our dreams can be met. All of our beliefs at some level out there and in here are true and significant. New beginnings. A friend of mine who's now deceased, he was one of my first instructors in martial arts as a beginner. Shepherd Kim was his name, and I mention that because it's sort of like the Day of the Dead. You want to remember people who have passed on to and honored them. 8th Dan black belt, tiny little Korean fellow, really great guy. God, he was so graceful and he could really move. And once after class, we were all sitting around drinking Foster's beer. I still love Foster's today. And he said, every day is a little life. I thought, is that just Korean philosophy or something? It's not, every day. What do you mean, sir? And he says, well, every day we fall asleep. We're processing. That ends the day. We're gone. We're unconscious. And we wake up and it's a new day. Every day is a new life. Now, he's the first person to ever say that to me. And I thought, that's really interesting to take that on board. Every day is for me, too, a new opportunity, a new beginning, a new possibility. For all things are made new with Christ. And that's one of the things that he was doing in his ministry. He was sharing. And he would say to his apostles, it's new. We're building something new here. We're coming out of the Old Testament. We're coming into a new set of possibilities. And it's beautiful what we're doing. And it's new. Every day is new. A while ago, I was walking down the street with my friend Esme St. James, who's a dating coach. Wonderful woman. She's a Baroness from Holland. And that and $3.50 will get you a cup of coffee at Starbucks, right? Okay. But she's a wonderful lady, and I'm walking along next to her, and I'm talking, and she says, will you stop it? What? She says, well, you're looking at the ground, your shoulders are forward, you're looking like Woody Allen. Will you please do what I've instructed you to do, which is to stand up, shoulders back, chin in, looking straight ahead? Because if you don't, you're referring so much to your past. You're not in present time, and nobody's going to trust you because you're so much in your head. Be present with me. Could a new beginning be that simple, just according to our body language? Well, maybe it is. Maybe it is that simple. Every moment could be a new beginning. If we want to change the world, are we going to try to change the external? Well, yeah, that's not a bad thing from time to time. We're in the physical world. But is it really the best change? Maybe it's just like it's moving furniture around the room. Same room, same furniture. And we've done a lot of moving in the external. We might even go for a distance. We call it pulling a geographical. No reference to you. Pulling a geographical means I got to get out of here. Is that a new beginning? Maybe, but if the dog takes the same fleas with it, it's not a new beginning. No, a new beginning implies consciousness. And just as my friend Esme once mentioned, it's sort of like every doorway that we can walk through symbolically is a portal for an experience of how we're going to be in that room. How we show up in that room. So consider that at some time. You're about to walk into a room, an office, a meeting or something. And that is a portal. How are you going to be as soon as you take your first step? What is your expectation? Is it fear, trepidation? Am I going to be judged? Will they like me? Will they hate me? Will they think I'm really good? What is your mind? What is your attitude? For every doorway is a portal, a possibility of new beginnings. Another little thing that I like to do, and somebody saw me do it a while ago, is a penny on the ground. I bend over and I pick up the penny. What'd you do that for? It's only a penny. Well, yeah, it's a penny. But if you spend more energy picking it up, than the value of the coin itself. And I said, yeah, but that's it's sort of like a ritual that I do. I kind of amuse myself with it, but it reminds me. So on every coin that we've got, and most of our paperwork, there's a spiritual thing on it. In God we trust. And I thought, was a penny. Thanks, good reminder. Thank you. If it's done, I'm really lucky. If you look at your money as well, our money, let's see if I have a dollar bill with me or something as an example. Oh, no, just credit cards. No, here's a 20. Most of our money has in all cultures, by the way, not just ours, there's a very masculine side to it, which is the leaders of the country or something to do with nationalism. Okay. And that's Jackson, right? Could be anybody, but the point is that it's a very male, very yang approach. And the other side, much more relaxed, much more feminine, much more yin. And in that, if you check out all of your money, you're going to find a spiritual message of some kind. So what I like to do is when I'm receiving money, I'm taking it in. Thank you. And when I'm giving it away, welcome. When I'm giving it away, I'm giving it away as a decision. Kind of a cool idea. New beginnings, even with every transaction that we have. Because money is about trust. This is just a piece of paper. It's not worth anything. But the trust that we have in it, it's about community. Pretty interesting idea. So if our resolutions are ephemeral, if it's about shaking things up and getting things going, being enthusiastic on February 1st, what kind of resolution can we have that is associated with a new beginning? What can we do as spiritual people? What would Christians do as a resolution? Well, maybe we don't want something that's going to just thud in a few days. Good idea. Thud. Where'd it go? I don't know, but I wanted it. What was it? I don't know. And then the months go by, and we don't even think about it anymore. Even if I wrote them down, I tried that too. So what kind of resolutions can we make? Well, most of our new beginnings come in two ways. One is that we choose it, and the other is forced upon us. We don't like those too much. But a new beginning, the worst thing I can think of is death in the family. You've got to come up with a new beginning for yourself. That's the lowest level. A new concept of how you're going to be in grief for 3 weeks, and then how you're going to take that person's life lessons in. That could be a new beginning for us all. A new beginning, maybe a graduation. Well, something there. How are you going to be? Where are you going to go? New beginning. But what about the new beginnings that you actually choose? What would they be like? Well, most of them come from an idea, a dream, a wish. But there's not a lot of groundedness in it, not a lot of substance. But after a wish, hopefully it'll turn into a hope. I hope that, and we're getting just a bit of energy. And out of hope, we think, I want something, I desire something, whatever word you want to choose. I have a target in mind, a specific thing for myself, or my family, or my community. And then it gets really interesting. Think, we make a plan. Gather our resources, make a plan. And the real trick then, anybody guess?
Following through.
Exactly, and that's the hardest part. The plan, and the action. Without an action step, none of this is going to be grounded. None of the great resolutions that we'd have would be grounded. That's why quite often they just don't show up and are not completed. And the moment I hear myself or think the words to myself, I really ought to do that, which is kind of a a moral judgment. Yeah, I ought to do that. It's the right thing. Or yeah, I should do that. Yeah. I could do that. And you can almost hear the phrase to that, if only I had the assets. I could do that if I had more time or more money. And so the moment I hear myself saying, yeah, that's a good idea, I know I'm not going to carry through. I should do it, a judgment of society. I ought to do it, a judgment of morality. And so it goes on. And when I make these statements to myself, I know it's not going to happen. I'm not going to do it. Well, how about going to a higher plane then for a new beginning? How about something that is going to constantly recreate for ourselves? Now, it does involve a bit of surrender. Surrender outside the five senses. Surrender to the God of our own understanding, whatever you want to call that. We surrender. So what kind of things can we do as Christians, if you like? Well, how about if we pray for wisdom? The New Year's resolution is then, everybody's excited about it. But new beginnings you can do every day. But let's do it coming up anyway as a resolution. Wisdom for what resolutions we're going to do. What is good for me? What can I really focus on? What is good for me? And then perhaps the prayer again, the wisdom to fulfill that. Because my habits get in the way in my own mind. Sure, thoughts good to wisdom on us. Yeah. Well, how about in new beginnings we actually pray about that? What resolutions are good for me? And pray for the wisdom of how to fulfill them. The truth is, quite often, I don't know diddly. You know, and even Einstein said that. He accepted a Nobel Prize, and Einstein, being the humble man that he was, he said, excuse me, look, I really, really don't know all my accomplishments because I've sat on the shoulders of giants. And if I knew how I grew one single hair, if I actually knew the process consciously, then I think I'd know something, but I don't. So with a sense of humility, we can pray about this and say, hey, bring it on in. I want to know. I want to know what's good for me. I want to know how I can best support that. It's a lot better than counting calories or counting cigarette butts. Praying for God's strength is a new beginning too. So there I was standing in the shower this morning, and I just had kicked over the cat litter tray. I pulled it out of the shower stall. I have a lovely cat, an indoor cat, because of coyotes. And sure enough, stepped on the edge, knocked over the cat litter tray. Whoa! Well, I told you I was a normal person, 1 of 7 billion. So I realized again, okay, I've got to surrender. What's this about arrogance? I knock over cat litter trays. Sometimes I get right crazy. Well, how about if I say, no, wait a minute, just a minute now. I need to, and I want to surrender to a higher purpose, greater than my own self, my own cat litter tray. Just the five senses world and moving furniture about the room. I want something more as a new beginning. I don't know what your more will be. And sometimes it's not good to share that with other people, because you dissipate the energy. I'm going to do this. Yeah. Your friend says, oh, that sounds good. You got any coffee? And yet, what we can actually do sometimes, we can have an accountability partner as well. Somebody who's on the same wavelength. Somebody you can check in with. A buddy. Somebody say, you know, what I told you about, this is what I'm working on, got any ideas? I said, oh yeah. I was thinking, knowing you, that X might be another pathway. Accountability partner. That really helps when we're building up a new beginning and accountability and a resolution. And we will have failures. And we'll stub my toe occasionally. And I have to laugh and forgive myself. I started to do that when I got my dustpan brush out. I can't believe I did that. Forgiveness. Now, am I going to let that ruin my day or color it? Well, I could. I get really pissed. I think I'm better than that, and I think all of us are. And I think all of us can recover from something that didn't work. So in our resolutions, our new beginnings, we can always forgive ourselves again and again and again and again. It's so easier, isn't it, in my experience at least, it's so easy to forgive somebody else. No matter how bad it is, at some level you can go deep and forgive them. Lord, they know not what they do. But it's so hard sometimes for all of us to stop our self-judgment. Forgive ourselves. We're all human. We're on an event cycle of life. The universe is a long time, and ours is just the blink of an eye. I don't know about you, but I don't want to spend it beating myself up in some way. Anybody ever look at what guilt is? You ever really see it? You know, oh, I feel so guilty about that. I can't believe I did that. Guilt can actually be a very powerful motivator. Guilt, at the highest level possible, is the knowledge that you wouldn't do that again. It's a knowledge that, oh, that didn't work. I feel so crummy. Oh, well, if I'm not going to do that again, I may as well not feel bad about it. I'm not going to feel guilty because I've learned that lesson. I'm going to forgive myself because I'm no longer that person. I have moved on. So in our resolutions and our new beginnings, if we stub our toe or something, it's still a new beginning. And we can use a mistake, again, to empower us, to energize us. Whoa, that didn't work. Going to do it a different way. Now, there's many references for that. Who's the great inventor of the light bulb? You know, what's that guy? Yeah, and he was not a very good scientist. He just had dogged persistence. Tesla was a much better scientist. And it was said that to do the light bulb, he had something like 10,000 different attempts to do it. I doubt it was that many, but even if it's 1,000 or 500, he didn't give up. And he learned something on each mistake. Wow. And how many people actually do give up when they stub their toe or something goes wrong? Just reading yesterday about a Norwegian explorer. He was going to go to the University of Denmark. This is the turn of the century. And he didn't like it too much. He said, I'm out of here. I want a life of adventure. So that's what he did. He established one of the first trading posts in the Arctic. And it was the post where all the other explorers went to empower themselves to go further. He could have stubbed his toe. He could think, oh, I dropped out of university. I'm not a good person. I'm a dropout. No, he just went out there and did what he wanted to do. He felt his energy. Let's go traveling and let's do something different. He was a remarkable man. He actually was entombed in ice. He didn't have any tools with him. He had to dig himself out of the ice. Barely made it. He didn't give up. New beginnings. I guess that was his portal to walk through. I think ours are a lot easier. So we turn an idea into a dream, into a wish, and a hope. There's got to be more than that. a target, a plan. And who said action? Did you say action? Taking step, I think you did. Yeah. Can you think of a time when you actually did take an action step on something that you wanted and you didn't know if it turned out, but it did? Anybody think of something that you accomplished? Yeah, and you know, that's one of the greatest joys in life. To accomplish something that you didn't think you can do and found out later that, oh, I did that. Everybody else is down in the bar. Accomplishment. Steve Jobs never gave up. He never gave up. He just pushed the WAS right into creating a whole new possibility of civilization. It only took 13 years for the computer to morph into the internet. It's an amazing world we live in. And a few people have created it because they never gave up. They had a new beginnings. And there's many people out there that do that. Probably several people in here that do that. New beginnings and going for it. Wolfgang Goethe, I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly, Goethe, writer, said that when you commit yourself, everything changes. Forces come to your aid that you never even knew were there. People come out of the woodwork to assist you. Beginning with action and commitment produces grace and dignity. I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me. That's the one that got me through high school, I can tell you. Reading assignment. Norman Vincent Peale wrote a wonderful book, The Power of Positive Thinking, in which he outlined a practical guide for Christianity. And again, that's what really helped me. I thought, oh, I get it. Oh, thinking positive with Christ. New beginnings, action step, committing myself. It's a bit like the story about the pig and the chicken, bacon and eggs. The chicken is participating, but the pig is committed. And when you really go for that commitment, I found so many times, I've had people just come up to assist or give advice or guidance, no doubt about it. But let's also do that in our prayers. And how are we going to do that? How are we going to have our own personal sacred ceremony? Now, if you've heard my talk before, I have a bit of a twist on that. We all have a thing in our life called rituals. Rituals are just a habit that becomes so ingrained we forget about them. One of my rituals is to take up my keys and put it on a special hook as soon as I get in at night. Now that's a ritual. So the next day, God, I'm late. Grab my keys. I know they're going to be there. It's a ritual. Not a bad thing. And then we go up to ceremony. And there are rituals within a ceremony. But when we go to sacred ceremony, that's when things really get interesting. Sacred ceremony implies several things. First of all, safety, quietude, going within, and making sure that you're not going to run into the coffee table or nobody's going to bang on the front door or something. Quiet place. Then, in sacred ceremony, the good news is it's a two-way street. You make your applications in your prayers on one side, and the Spirit comes down to you. It's a two-way street. Sacred ceremony. And what can we do at Denver Home? I suggest everybody have an altar at home. It doesn't have to be a big one. It can be just a very, very tiny little area. Maybe you want to dedicate a closet to it or something. And there are different kinds of altars. We have an ancestral altar where pictures of the family and friends who are departed. If you look in people's home, quite often they're doing that anyway. A corridor in their house is all the family for grandparents on both sides. And all that. That's one version of it. That's in ancestral altar. Another altar would be items of your choice that remind you of the spirit world. Whatever it is. A cross, right? Got it. What? Good reminder. Some people like to use beautiful things, small bouquet of flowers. Some people like to use crystals or something as a reminder of the solidity of the world. And some people do what the Native Americans do, honor the four directions, which is something I also do too. Making an altar at home. And then when we approach that altar, what a lovely thing it is. I recommend too that we begin with what Stanford University says, the department that's associated with altruism and compassion. There is a department for that. And the woman in charge of it, thank you, the woman in charge of it says it begins with our breath. It's the one thing that we have control over of our body. Yeah, we can move our body, I know that, but we don't really control our heart or endocrine system or anything else, but we can control our breath. So take a deep breath with me in, hold it for 4. Let it go. Perfect remedy for road rage too. And it provides just that tiny little window between a stimulus and how I'm going to react. Just a tiny little window. If I use my breath in that ceremony, I open up greater and greater possibilities of a new beginning. Sacred ceremony is a two-way street. At that time, you put resolutions in there. You might want to even write them down as memory pegs. You might want to ask God for what resolutions you can have, the strength and wisdom to follow through on it. Maybe find somebody else to share with as well, somebody who's trusted on the same page to make it work. Does anybody remember the Serenity Prayer? I'm going to look it up again here. That's a good thing to know about. The Serenity Prayer is quite often what the people who do the 12-step programs do. And we're going to give it to you at length. Oop, can't even spell it. Now, in this church also, we offer the possibility of cannabis as a sacrament. It's been used for hundreds and maybe even thousands of years. Now the law has changed, that the law is now set in California as well as 26 other states. We can use it recreationally as well, and that's good. I've indulged in that myself. And yet at the same time, I think we want to use it in a different way in sacred ceremony to open up the possibility of thought and dedication in a sacred way. So if anybody would like to join in that, we offer that here. If anybody wants to come up. Thank you. Now it's going to be kind of smoky in here, so we have the windows open. Excuse me. And if you have to leave to go out to get fresh air, I'll understand that.
Driver, do we start lighting?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sure.
While I'm here. Yeah. Hey, I brought that lion up. time.
I was looking at it when I was doing it. Yeah, I saw it.
This is so perfect for your church
I
right
like
now.
it. I like what you said too, because I know you were talking about it earlier.
Yeah.
They have these little smaller cans that
Yeah.
have like
I think we're good. We're gonna do that for later. Okay, cool, cool. So you guys are good? If I remember this.
Another one. Blessings. Thanks, sir.
Anybody else need an ashtray?
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's change that.
You guys have them?
Yes.
Huh?
Like I said, I could use.
We have some ashtrays here. I'll go ahead and pass it to you around.
The minis have half.
Take an ashtray.
Take it?
The minis have half.
I don't know.
Oh, do you mind if we put it out?
You didn't get any of these? Sorry.
No, I don't think it's not.
I'm not a connoisseur of that.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Anyone else need a light?
Sacred ceremony. T-shirt plants. This has always been with us.
Even during the time that Christ was born, it was also brought to us.
Yes, it was. So let us consider also too, is, again, a sacred ceremony of safety. I don't want anybody driving under the influence. If you have any doubt about that, call a friend, do a Uber, make sure that you're safe. That's a requirement of sacred ceremony. It stimulates different thinking. It cleanses the doors of perception. So let us consider the following prayer. You can keep your eyes open if you want. Just enjoy and indulge the feeling of changes. And open your heart and mind a bit more. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying this moment at this time, accepting hardships as the pathway to peace, taking as he did the sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that he will make all things right if I surrender to his will, that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with him forever in the next. So closing your eyes to go into a deeper meditation. And counting down 5 until 1, relaxing the body. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. Now at a much deeper state, more sensitive and aware of the processes. For I am not my body, I have a body. It is my vehicle to walk around this planet. I look after it. I'm not my mind. I have a mind, and it's a good one. I use it for memory recall. I use it to calculate and figure things out. But I'm not my mind. I am a spirit, a child of God. I am a spirit having a human experience. And it's good. I have a life. And I intend to do well, engineering myself in new beginnings and resolution to be the best person that I can be. By my example, I empower others. And And I wish the best for everybody in a win-win situation. And so it is in this community, building together. New beginnings. For the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I'll fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and thy staff, they comfort me. And you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anointeth my head with oil. My cup overflows. And surely goodness and virtue will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The universe is a big place, and that means that somewhere this is true. Let's have it be here. Thank you. I shall not be here next Sunday. I'm off with family in England. I'll return for the 7th of January. That's a Sunday, I believe. Especially the new people today, thank you so much for being here to share your hearts and your minds.
Enjoy your trip.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
See you when we get back.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Oh yeah, Merry Christmas.